Coming up on Network Africa. Egypt appeal court overturns death sentence handed down to ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Special advisor of the Secretary General on the Prevention of Genocide, Adama Dane, warns that there is potential for genocide risk in South Sudan. And survey reveals that most people in 3 African countries have an optimistic outlook despite continuing anger and corruption. Welcome everyone, I am Bisi Adebayo. Egypt's highest court has overturned a death sentence against ousted Islamic President Mohamed Morsi. Morsi had been condemned to death for his role in a mass prison break during the 2011 revolution. He was elected president in 2012 but removed by the military a year later after street protests against his role. Morsi has been sentenced separately to life in prison for terrorism offenses and still faces trial on other charges. The court also annulled death sentences for 5 leaders of his banned Muslim Brotherhood movement, including its supreme guide, Mohammed Badi, convicted on the same case. 21 life sentences for other members were also overturned. Well, elsewhere, the Italian Coast Guard has reported a total of 550 immigrants were rescued on Monday while drifting in the central Mediterranean, where the bodies of 5 people were found. The immigrants were brought to safety on 5 airboats. The rescue operators were divided into 5 groups to bring the immigrants back and were coordinated from the headquarters of the Coast Guard in Rome. The Coast Guard broadcast images of the rescue operation in which an immigrant, apparently a minor, was seen brought onto a helicopter by doctors at night. Well, let's go back to our lead story where Mohamed Morsi's death sentence has been overturned. And to talk more about this, the VOA's Edward Yerinen joins me on the program to discuss this issue. Thanks, Edward, for your time.
My pleasure.
Now, what's the implication of today's ruling by the Court of Cassation?
Well, the court has decided that the initial ruling was not handed down fairly, and it says it's corrected that verdict. This is each person who is handed a sentence in Egypt has the right to appeal. An appeal can also, a new verdict can also be appealed as well. So you have 3 tries at justice. And this death sentence has been quashed, but Mr. Morsi also has lengthy sentences, 20 and 40-year sentences in several other cases.
What about the Muslim Brotherhood? Are the members pleased with the verdict, knowing that the court also annulled death sentences for 5 of its leaders who were also convicted in the same case?
Well, on the grassroots level, I think there's still a great deal of anger towards the government, but there was a lawyer for the group who indicated that he thought that the ruling was a positive step, a fair ruling, as he put it. That being said, there's still a great deal of tension and friction between the government and the Brotherhood, which is actually outlawed officially.
What about the Egyptians? How are they reacting to this news?
Well, I've spoken to a sampling of people around me in the street, but I don't know that that's a good representative sample. But in general, I think people don't see a great deal of change in the political situation from this ruling, and it doesn't really change their outlook, the economic pressures they're under. So I don't really see any major reaction, to be honest with you.
Okay, what about Morsi? He's faced a lot of lawsuits in the last couple of years. Could this possibly be the end of his legal troubles?
Well, Well, I don't think he's going to see an end to his legal troubles until the political situation between the government and the Brotherhood is eventually ironed out. I'm more optimistic than many people. I tend to think that there will ultimately be some sort of reconciliation, but many people don't think so. And if there isn't a reconciliation, I think there will be lengthy prison sentences that are going to be served. If there is a reconciliation, say a minor reconciliation, perhaps they'll serve their terms under house arrest.
All right, thank you very much, Edward. Edward Yerinen is VOA's correspondent. Thank you for talking to us on the program.
My pleasure.
Well, moving on now, a commander of the Islamic State group who was convicted in absentia in Italy of terrorist recruitment has been arrested in Sudan. Abu Nassim is a Tunisian who was until recently thought to be leading a group of IS fighters around the port of Sabratha in Libya. He lived in Italy for most of his 20s, where he was suspected of trying to radicalize other Arab migrants and then fought in Afghanistan and Syria before reportedly moving to Libya in 2014. Abu Nassim was arrested by U.S. forces in Afghanistan in 2001 and transferred to Italy in 2009, where he was acquitted of terror recruitment charges and deported to Tunisia in 2012. He was convicted on appeal in Italy the following year, but by then was already in Syria. It's not clear if he'll be extradited. And the United Nations envoy on genocide prevention, Adama Dieng, has warned that South Sudan is at risk of plunging into an outright ethnic war and genocide. Speaking to the media while wrapping up a 5-day visit to South Sudan this week, Dieng said the purpose of the visit was to better understand the landscape of ethnically fueled violence, including hate speech and incitement to violence, and to provide assistance where requested.
The United Nations envoy on